Welcome to the Sykes Company PA video blog featuring Ollin Sykes.
You work with a lot of pharmacists with potential transitions. Have you seen situations where a potential sale might be a bad idea?
Yes, Rachel. As a matter of fact, we do. In fact, I have recently been involved in a transaction where it got a little bit complicated because a lot of times you'll see an older boomer or older individual ready to exit. They've made up their mind about what they want to do. Sometimes they don't have the professional help that they need to understand some of the tax issues centered around the potential transaction and have not a clue of how it impacts the purchaser. And in a lot of those cases, we're representing the millennial purchaser. And in some of those cases, that millennial pharmacist, and sometimes both of the pharmacist or husband and wife, have fixated on a particular location, perhaps in their hometown. They know the pharmacy. Sometimes one or two of them both work in that pharmacy, and they understand it and they know it. They fall in love with the idea and the concept. And that's when I say time out. Because if you fall in love with a potential pharmacy transaction, even before you get started, you know it's going to cost you money one way or the other. And in this particular instant case, that's exactly what happened. And we started negotiating on frankly, the potential purchaser came to us after the price had already been determined, which is an absolute no-no. And then we start asking questions on the agreements that have been prepared to that point. A lot of the answers to those questions impact the pricing of the transaction, impact how it should be set up from a tax perspective to benefit the buyers going forward. And because there's so many things that all of a sudden begin to change the dynamics with the transaction, again, we're dealing with an older pharmacist who may not be open to anything other than his one idea, and the price has already been determined, then the purchaser ends up getting, in this nice way I will say, will end up getting the shaft. And that's exactly what happened in this past case. In fact, the shaft ended up costing the new pharmacist buyer about $400,000 more in the transaction. And frankly, they shouldn't have gone through with it, but they fell in love with it. And again, it met all those criteria that I just mentioned. And it just simply didn't work. The financial metrics of it didn't work. And because they were utilizing some family resources and some local bank financing, and the bank didn't know anything about pharmacies, it was complicated by several other issues. So, yeah, there are times when a pharmacy transaction doesn't make sense and should not take place. But here's the takeaway. Before you enter into negotiations on a transaction that potentially could be the most important financial transaction in your life, hire those that do this every day. Because they have been through this repeatedly. They can offer to you suggestions that can save you, in some case, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And before you get emotionally tied into the transaction, and when you get emotionally tied into it, it's going to cost you money. Before you get all involved in that, get that help on the outside. That's what we do. That's what we can assist with. That's what we have involved in probably in dozens of transactions right now, just like this. But once you've made the deal, quote unquote, and once you've got initial paperwork already started, then hire somebody. It's almost too late because you've already set the parameters. So that would be an absolute worst case situation, and that would be a case where you should probably not be purchasing the pharmacy.
Thank you for joining us today. If you want more information or have any questions, please feel free to contact Ollin directly.